So why is it important to be perceptive, right? I came up with this video because of the fact that I had a moment where I was training um, for a team, and I am very technically behind for my age because I did start very, very, very late as a footballer, right? And basically, what ended up happening was I was arguing with a player because of something that happened. Um, and we got into a pretty heated argument about something that I seen versus something that other players see, right? And that was basically the other team's players were pressing really high. So my thought process was play it over the top and skip the midfield to play it to our striker. And even if it's a 50-50 ball, I have hopes that our team would win the ball. And even if that player doesn't win the ball, our striker doesn't win the ball, it's still the fact that we have enough time to reset our back line and reset the midfield to be prepared for a counterattack, right? So, in my opinion, there was no lose-lose in that situation, right? If we win the ball, we get a goal scoring opportunity. If we lose the ball, we still have time to reset and try again, right? But they just wanted to build out from the back. And building out from the back, in my opinion, is extremely ineffective when you're playing in a small-sided game and the other team's entire midfield is just pressing, pressing, pressing. Why are we playing out from the back and taking 6, 7 touches in the back when we could just skip it and play it over the top? That was my thought process. So that's basically what the entire argument was about, right? Because I was taking too many touches in the back line and I was playing slow, right? I wasn't passing fast enough. I was taking too many touches. I wasn't really scanning as much as I should have, and it costed me some goal scoring opportunities, and it costed me losing my position from the back and having to play in the front because I was playing slow and I was giving up goals. So after the game, I thought about it and I was really upset at myself, mostly because of the fact that I always think that I could do better. But I was also upset at my team because why do we not try things a different way when the way that we're trying isn't working, right? And the idea that I came up with was perception. It comes down to perception. You see what you believe. What you believe is what you see. So the reason why my opinion wasn't valued is because I was the one that was making mistakes. I was the one that was costing goals. Why would you take advice or take the opinion or consider the opinion of someone who was making mistakes? And I don't see it that way. The way that I see it is that everybody is included on the team, right? If there's 11 players on the field, all 11 players' opinions should be valued, right? That's how I see it. Doesn't matter what mistakes you make, because at the end of the day, every player makes mistakes. As long as you hold them accountable and they hold themselves accountable, we can move on and we try to adjust, right? That's how I see it. But a lot of people don't see it that way. All they see is a bad player. All they see is a player that's technically behind. All they see is a player that's not very good on the ball. They don't see the player's opinion or what the other player sees, right? But I see it in a way that includes all 11 players. So when this happens, it then becomes a clash of like mentality, right? Everybody's mental state is different. Everybody thinks differently. And that was the whole point of perception, right? Because what I seen was different from what my teammates seen. And it was really, I feel like it was a really interesting thought because there's a lot of things that go into football, but I feel like perception is one of those details that are really just like, it's not really easy to spot because it's not something that's incredibly important or as much important as technical ability or being able to dribble or being able to play with both feet or scanning, things like that. It's not as important as those things from the sense of it doesn't affect the game in that way, but it affects the game from a more mental standpoint, right? Because I had what I deemed as a good idea to try something different because the way that we were doing things wasn't as effective or wasn't working as well. But they wanted to just keep doing it the way that they were doing it because maybe in their mind they seen it working, or in their mind they seen something different from what I've seen, right? But that's why I think it's important to include everybody's opinion and adjust, right? Football is a game of adapting and adjusting constantly and making consistent efforts. But I feel like the idea of perception is something that is not just exclusive to football, right? There's no mutual exclusivity. It's something that you can take to work. It's something that you can take to a school project. It's something that is included in all forms of life. And it's really, once again, how you perceive it. And I feel like this video is made to try to basically give a heads up as to understanding other people's perspective and how you can adapt their perspective into your own, right? Because in my opinion, from what I've learned, is that you can take information from anybody, no matter how dumb you think they are or no matter how smart you think they are. There's something that you could take away from every little thing. Every detail in your thinking, every thought pattern you have, any person you talk to, your habits, the way that you choose to do things, from when you wake up in the morning, from when you go to sleep, they all come down to perception, right? And you can learn something from everybody, but you have to perceive it first. You have to perceive the information that you're being given. If somebody says something stupid, or what you deem as stupid, you could still come to the conclusion that the idea was stupid, but then you have to think about it a little bit deeper. Like, was what they're saying actually true subjectively, right? Because maybe what you thought was stupid was because you thought it was an objective pattern, as if it's true to all walks of life. But maybe it's not so stupid in the sense of subjectivity, right? Maybe what they said was more subjective from one person to another. So in that sense, maybe it wasn't stupid, it just wasn't objectively true, right? So I think these are all things that should be considered, and I think these are all things that can make life a lot easier for different people, because it takes away the social hierarchy, right? Of like, oh, you're stupid, or oh, you're dumb, I'm not going to listen to you. Your opinion immediately becomes invalid because you made a mistake, or because you said something stupid, or maybe you did something that wasn't deemed correct. Your opinion then becomes invalid and mutually blocked out by everybody because of the fact that what you said wasn't valued, right? And I don't think that should be true, in the sense of, I feel like everybody has valid opinions in some way, right? And even if you don't see it as a valid opinion, there is still something you can learn from it, right? But it comes down to, like I said, perception, and being able to reflect on whatever happened, so that way you can come back at a later time and say, hey, maybe you were right about this, but this is what I thought, and how I adapted what you said, and vice versa. That's how I feel like communication should work amongst social settings, in terms of group projects, or jobs where you have to collaborate with other people, or any form of work that requires communication, including sports, right? But that's my opinion, and that's my idea of perception. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for tuning in. Leave your thought process and your thinking down in the comments, your ideas. I want to hear all of it. I read the comments. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video.